Hi, my name is Logan Hedrick. I'm the principal engineer at TUTCO Farnam Custom Products and kind of head up the control panel design team and working closely with customers and building control panels.
My name is Gage Kosnik. I'm a design engineer at Farnam Custom Products, and I help with designing heaters, documenting manufacturing, as well as supporting the team across the board.
And so previously at TUTCO, we had been buying and reselling industrial control panels. Our customers with Farnam and also our TUTCO Shrede customers as well all have been purchasing industrial control panels with us that pair with our process air heaters. So that's the industry we've been in for a while. But one thing we were struggling with was we were working with several different panel shops at the time, but everyone was struggling to get panels in and meet quoted lead time. About 2023, we started talking about the idea of, well, why don't we just make control panels in-house? We've already got the knowledge. We have a hand in designing our control panels anyways. We're well aware of the logic and the programming and things that are going into it. Late 2023, we got our UL 508A certification. That is the main certification that we make our industrial control panels to. And so that is active for our Farnam division in Arden, North Carolina. Um, and so we've started making panels from there, and we really just kind of haven't looked back. We just continue to grow and expand our capabilities. We have a kind of a line of standard control panels. That's just kind of your basic controls a heater. It's very generic. It's kind of more of a one size fits all deal. But one thing that we really push and pride ourselves on is our custom control panels. And that what that really is that's a control panel that's tailored to you, the customer's needs. And so, what are our capabilities with that? Well, really our capabilities are anything with that. But so things like blower control with VFD, there's a lot of applications for that, but anywhere our flow torch could be used. So any kind of process air heating involving pipelines or potential steel applications, potential thermal energy storage applications as well. If you need to blow heated air onto something or via a pipeline, you're going to have an air source, and a lot of times that'll come via a blower. And our heaters, especially the flow torch series and pressure torch as well, but mostly the flow torch, actually pairs well with a regen blower that's relatively, I'd say, moderate flow rates, but they have relatively high pressure as well, so they help overcome system back pressure. But so how does a panel integrate with that? Well, if you're going to put a blower, you have to control the blower. So at the bare minimum, you're going to have some kind of on off, whether it be a contactor or motor starter, and the appropriate circuit protection, whether it be fusing or a circuit breaker. You're going to have that, but most people like the ability to not only vary their airflow, but also kind of monitor the health of the blower. And that's generally where something like a VFD would come in. And those are the kind of things that we integrate and custom design into our panels. We also program them as well. So it's not like we're just going to hand you a VFD and say, here, figure it out. No, that's not how we operate here. So, we're going to either program it ourselves, or we're going to work with you to make sure that you're aware of how to program it if it's something where you need to program it on your end. Some applications require a lot of control, and that's where we look into something like a PLC, which is a programmable logic controller. It's more or less like a miniature computer for industrial applications. And so we can do all kinds of stuff with a PID or with PLC control. You can do PID loops, you can do timer delays, you can do HMI screens and certain applications like that. You can do web visualization, HTML web pages, all kinds of Ethernet and serial communications. That's all stuff that we integrate and custom design in our panels. And really, there's not a lot of limitations. We work with pretty much all the major brands and players in industrial control market. So there at this point, there is not a lot of limits to our capabilities. The biggest thing is just can we help you with your system, and what does your system require and need from us? So yeah, Gage. So why don't you maybe explain some of the Farnam heaters that would require an industrial control panel, and how you at the heater design team has to help integrate that with the control panel design team?
So we sell a range of heaters, from the flow torch to the pressure torch. Those are our more industrial grade heaters. And with each of those, we like to be able to allow the customer to control that heater. And one of the ways we do that is we've started pushing to sell these control panels in conjunction with the heater. So what Farnam is kind of diving into is we're starting to build more system-based technologies where it's including pneumatics, it's including heating technologies, control technologies, all in one cohesive system to work with one another based on the customer's need.
Yeah, and so I mean, like, it kind of involved in that. We've got things like, we can integrate blowers and do VFD control on blowers. We can put all of these components into a complete system for you. Not only can we sell you the components or sell you all the individual pieces of the system, maybe you need to integrate it in separate spots in your system, and a lot of customers do, but some customers like the idea of a complete system. And so we can actually integrate, a heater, a blower, a control panel, pressure sensors, full pneumatics, transducers, solenoid valves, things of that nature. We can put all that together into one panel. We can make it indoor rated. We can make it outdoor rated, NEMA 4 or 4X kind of deal. Really, there's not a lot of limitations to what our capabilities are. Really, the only limitation is your application and how far you're willing to allow us to help you.